Hi, I'm Julie, and I am not a big fan of cooking, but I love my family and they need to eat. So I enlisted the help of my friend Michelle, co-owner of the Cooking Lab in Port Washington, New York, to help me and you if you are watching this and also don't care for cooking. So I'm here with my friend Michelle, who is co-owner of the Cooking Lab in Port Washington, New York. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Julie.
And Michelle has some things to show us.
Today, I want to teach you how to make one of my family's favorite weeknight meals and one of my favorite weeknight meals because it's fast and easy to make, and that's pasta fagioli, which in Italian means pasta with beans.
Okay.
So you may ask me, what kind of beans? What kind of pasta?
What kind of beans? What kind of pasta?
Well, I'm here to tell you that. Okay, so I always have a variety of beans in my pantry because if I'm making something like this every week, I don't want to make it exactly the same because then they're going to get bored. So,
Are these canned beans or are these fresh beans?
Canned beans.
Okay.
And super high in protein and a nice alternative to meat. So this is maybe you make this on your Meatless Monday.
Yep.
Right?
My
So
vegetarian daughter will love this.
Perfect,
Okay.
perfect. So here are your beans. So that's the fagioli part in our pasta and fagioli. Okay, now let's talk about the pasta part, okay? And then we will kind of get into everything in between. With pasta fagioli, the key is a small pasta. So you can use something like elbows, you can use something like little ditalini or tubettini, but a lot of people have elbows in the house if they're making mac and cheese. So that's always a good one. But again, let me tell you a little bit about my favorite. So we all have a box of spaghetti in the house with this much left. Let's have some fun.
Okay.
So you take your spaghetti and you break it into little pieces. Spezzate, it's called. I also want to teach you how to make some kind of tomato broth that is going to be super flavorful and with the flavors that your family likes. So, fresh herbs. I cannot overstate using fresh herbs in the kitchen.
Okay.
This is basil. Unfortunately, in the winter, not the pretty, a little sad. It's a little sad, but it really doesn't matter if it's not the prettiest basil. You can just toss it into the soup because it's going to wilt anyway. Okay. We're trying to have it infuse. All right, a couple of other flavors here. My friend.
Oh.
Oh, what?
I
What
didn't
is
know
it?
what that was. This is cheese. Parmesan?
Not just the cheese, but what is it? It's it's Parmesan.
The rind.
When you're making any kind of soup, you can throw in a rind and it will give it this kind of like interesting umami type flavor that isn't necessarily a cheesy flavor, but just kind of impart this little bit, this really subtle cheese flavor. This is just a plain old chicken bouillon. Oh. That's it. Okay. Just one grocery store aisle. And this will add a nice little bit of extra flavor to your broth, into your pasta fagioli broth, and you can throw that in. In every sauce, you're pretty much going to find onion,
Yes.
celery, carrot, and of course, because we're talking about Italian cooking, there's garlic here. Okay, if you saute vegetables, the flavors deepen. If you don't saute them, they're a little bit more mellow.
Okay.
If you don't want to take the time to make your own broth with these vegetables and these herbs, and you just want to use your own tomato sauce, you can do that. You take your favorite brand of tomato sauce. And when I say your favorite brand of tomato sauce, the one that's already seasoned, okay? So you take that and pour some into your pot. For today, I'm just gonna put about a half of a jar in there. But we're not just making pasta with tomato sauce. We want to turn this into like a soupy type meal. So we're going to dilute it with some water. Usually like a ratio, if I had to say so if I used about 2 cups of sauce, maybe about 4 cups of water, a little bit more. It really depends on how thick you want it. And even though this is a little sad, look, it's going right in there. So it really doesn't matter. So I'm so that's going to give it some extra fresh basil flavor. Of course, since we diluted it with water, that's going to dilute that flavor. So just a little pinch of salt. And a little bit of extra flavor in there. I'm going to put a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil just to give it a little bit of extra flavor in there. That actually, and also texture. It gives it a little bit more of like an unctuous texture and will eventually allow, once we boil the pasta to kind of, for that broth to really coat the pasta. So that's why I just put a little bit in there. And let's bring this to a boil.
Okay.
So we're going to bring this to a boil and let it sit. After it comes to a boil, I'm going to uncover it and I'm going to then let it simmer for about 8 minutes. So basically it comes to a boil, I'm throwing in the beans and I'm letting the beans kind of cook in the broth, even though yes, the beans are already cooked, but it's in order so they get plump up a little bit more, they become a little bit more flavorful, and we'll throw those in about 8 minutes, complete inactive cooking. So we're gonna turn it off, and now here is, if you wanna kind of throw in that veggie in there to kind of, so however much you want. I'm gonna do, let's do 1 handful, maybe another handful. And then this is off of the heat, just stir it. Stir it until it wilts. Now, of course, we could have just put it in earlier, but spinach is just a lot more pleasant if it still has a tiny little bite, and especially baby spinach. So just kind of stir it. And believe me, the residual, this is residually cooking in here. So it's still cooking, it's still simmering in there, even though the heat is off. So this broth is cooking up this spinach. So let's just stir it around.
That's a good looking soup.
Isn't it a good looking soup?
It was easy. I really feel like I could do this.
Super easy and super nutritious. All right, I think you see how that spinach is just wilted. Let's leave it at that. Would you like to taste some? All right.
Okay,
Buon
let's do it.
appetito.
Buon appetito. That's delicious.
Right?
Look what we made.
Look what we made. And truly effortless and nourishing. And everything, you have everything in your pantry for this. Do you still hate cooking?
I don't hate cooking with you.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully,
I like eating.
Well, hopefully this is a dish that is easy enough and quick enough for you to not hate cooking on the night that you make it. How about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna report back.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.